Askreddit, what was the most brutal thing you've heard a kid say? While my aunt is getting changed into a bathing suit years ago, 5-year-old cousin, Mom, I want to be like you when I grow up, I just don't want your body. As a teenager I had horrendous acne. My 3-year-old cousin was asked if they wanted to give me a hug before leaving a family gathering. He looked at me and said no, his face has big ugly buttons, and then walked off. Me. 3 years old son, to me, loudly, I hate you. Wife, I don't want to hear that. 3 years old son, now whispering, I hate you. I can't believe you're 30, and you're still single. My 4 years old niece, most likely repeating her mom in private. The boy next door once told my mom that she shouldn't hang her underwear on the clothesline because his mother didn't want his father looking at it. A 7-year-old asked me, where is your girlfriend? Since my brother's girlfriend was there with us. I told her I don't have one. So she said, oh. Yeah, I guess some people are supposed to be alone. Well, damn. Me. Putting my daughter to bed. I love you, honey. Good night. Oh, I don't love you. Me. That's not very nice. I'm sure you love me. Oh, nope. I just love mommy. Bye. I was visiting my grandchildren, 4 and 6 and their parents, and reminded them that I was leaving in 2 days. Both children clapped and cheered. Daddy, these flowers match your teeth, they were daffodils. My little sister told my first girlfriend that she was the first girl who was willing to talk to me. One time a kid in the day camp I was volunteering at asked me if I had a mommy. Of course I have a mommy. Why do you ask? Oh. I thought you didn't have a mommy because she died because you're so old. I was 15 at the time. Was sitting on the couch with my girlfriend and her nephew, and he was staring at me. Him. What's wrong with your neck? Me. What? Do I have a bruise or something? Him. No, you have like a big thing sticking out. Me. Oh, that's my Adam's apple. Him. Oh. Is it always going to be like that? Me. Yes. Him. That's really gross looking. My 2 daughters, 5 and 7, were fighting over a toy. The younger one turned to the older one and said, if you don't give me the toy, I'm going to cut off your head and bury it in the backyard where no one will ever find it. When I was 16 I got dumped by my boyfriend, and my 10-year-old cousin overheard me crying and came into my room and said, why did your boyfriend break up with you? He was probably cheating on you anyway. No boy would ever do that to me. I was dressed as Little Red Riding Hood for Halloween and was taking my friend's nieces trick-or-treating. One of them turned to me and said, what are you supposed to be? Me. Little Red Riding Hood? Her. Oh. Though she was supposed to be pretty. My sister told me that one of my nieces told her waddle faster mummy while she was chasing her. I work as a therapist and had a kid walk up to his new teacher, place his hands on her belly and ask in a ringing voice, is it a boy or a girl? He genuinely thought she was pregnant. Bless his little soul. I worked at a library and they were going to have a scare away drugs day. Were you dressed scary for a day? A little girl told the librarian, wow, you went all out for the scary day. The librarian said, OHH, that's not today, it's on Friday. The little girl said, OHH, well you're ready, and walked off. It was painful to see a 35-year-old woman eviscerated by a 2nd grader. I said it myself, and I will regret it forever. When I was about 6, my parents hired a really nice neighborhood girl who was probably about 17 at the time to babysit me while they took a night out. She was the daughter of the director of my after-school daycare I went to almost every day, and she was a totally awesome and caring person. Anyway, she happened to be fairly overweight, and while we were sitting there playing a game together I said completely out of the blue, you're really fat, just a stupid thing a 6-year-old would say. I still remember the pain in her face. It's burned into my brain. She was absolutely devastated and fighting back tears. Enough so that even a 6-year-old who still had minimal empathy was able to recognize it. She just feigned a smile and told me that's not nice to say to people. It haunts me because as I grew up I realized how devastating that must have been for a teenage girl to hear. High school couple I overheard. Girl, are you saying you love weed more than you love me? Boy, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. Well, yeah. Was teaching 6th graders. She glanced at my hairy arms. What are you, a bear? I was driving my son and his friend home from a baseball tournament. They were about 12. The kid's dad was a bit of a loudmouth asshole and he wanted to ride the 2-hour drive with us because he didn't pitch a very good game and he knew his dad would be yelling at him. I overheard him tell my kid that I know why my dad hates me. I walked in on him in the bathroom and my dick is way bigger than his. That was the hardest I ever had to hold back laughter. I don't love you. That's what my 4-year-old son said to me a few days ago when I asked him to go to bed. Just looked me straight in the eyes and said it, then walked off, not gonna lie. Even though he doesn't mean it, it still hurt. It's okay. My other 2 kids love me, for now. A little kid once said to me I wouldn't mind watching it burn, when we were talking about a mobile home that was on my uncle's property. We were literally just walking. Kid was like 4 or 5, not sure what age. A few years ago my hair thinned out at the very front. I hate it and it really bothers my self-esteem. Cute bubbly 11-year-old niece running up to me with a big hug, then staring at me with her head canted to the side like a curious dog, pointing to my head and saying, "So, what's going on with this?" I ask myself the same thing every time I look in the mirror. I was with my wife on a surfing trip in Hawaii. All in all was shaping up to be a great day. Little overhead high barrels. Little local girl about 14 or so paddles up to my wife after surfing with us and talking for the last couple hours between sets and says, "Where are you and your dad from?" Man, that stung. First ever day of retail, a little girl wandered up to me and said, "Why are you so fat?" I replied with the first thing that came to mind, which was probably because I eat too much. She proceeded to run through the shop yelling, "Mummy, he eats too much." I just found it funny really, but damn, kids come at ya for no reason. You didn't want the dog when Pop was alive. You don't get him when he's dead. But he's my dog. Oh yeah? Now he's mine. Get off your fat ass and do something about it, said my then 10-year-old sister to lady who tried to steal my grandfather's dog at his funeral. I overheard this in the checkout line at the grocery store. The kid was asking for some candy and his mother said no and he said under his breath, "I will kill you someday." I snuck a beer into the Lego Ninjago movie, and my friend's 8-year-old looked over at me when he heard it open and said, "Your life is predictable and disappointing." I still think about that a few times a week. We went to a funeral of my significant other's grandmother. Our 3-year-old was curious and asking questions about why great-grandma died. Really sweet and nice questions. She was then talking to great-grandpa. She said, "I miss great-grandma. I will miss you when you die. You will be dead soon because you are really old." My face dropped. He was laughing really hard and it took the edge off of him. Teaching kids about death is tough. "Mom, why is that man shorter than me? Is he a goblin?" in reference to a guy who was clearly a midget in Walmart, who was under 4 feet tall. Kid was probably 8 or 9 and should have known better. My son was probably 4 or so and I was giving him a bath. He says, quite calmly and relaxed, "Dad, I hate you," then stops and pauses, thinks about it for a second and says, "Hate's a strong word, isn't it? Dad, I really don't like you." I just started laughing. This was not an uncommon sentiment towards me at that age, but it was the first time he'd said it so dispassionately. For him, Mom was love, Mom was life, all else paled in comparison. He's since changed his tune once he discovered Dad would take him on roller coasters. Without the yearly fare, I'm pretty sure I'd still be a big fat 0 in his eyes. When my first son was little and was learning his colors, he pointed to my teeth and said, "Yellow." Later in kindergarten, that same son came home with random Valentine's cards before Valentine's Day. That's how you know they're truly legit instead of the obligatory ones. I said, "Wow, I never got any cards from girls when I was your age." He replied, "Maybe because everyone hated you." I was snuggling with my 6-year-old daughter on the couch and she says, "You're so comfy, Daddy. I wish you could snuggle like this with my baby after I have one." I told her I would once she has babies. She replies, "No you won't. You're old. You'll be dead by then." A few years ago my ex and 2 of our other friends who were dating each there were over along with another single friend. We were watching a movie and cuddling when my 8-year-old brother came downstairs and asked the single friend if he'd gotten used to being alone yet. My daughter said to me, "Put on this mask, Daddy, so we can play Fat Spider-Man." I'm maybe 15 pounds overweight.